Snow was falling. It covered the palace and drifted onto the ebony windowsill where the Queen sat at the open window, busy at her embroidery. She glanced at the snowflakes and, distracted by their beauty, accidentally pricked her finger. A spot of red blood dropped onto the soft white snow.
Oh, how I wish I had a daughter, with hair as black as this ebony windowsill, with lips as red as blood, and with skin as soft and white as the newly fallen snow,
she said quietly to herself. By the following summer, her wish had come true. The Queen held in her arms a beautiful baby princess with hair as black as ebony, lips as red as blood, and skin as soft and white as the newly fallen snow. She named her Snow White, and she grew to be the kindest, prettiest girl in the kingdom.
We have a very beautiful daughter. Her hair is black as the ebony window, her lips are red as blood, and her skin is as soft and white as the snow. She will be pretty when she grows up.
Well, there's plenty of time for her to grow up. We need to give our baby a name first.
There are a couple of names I can think of, but if we put our heads together, we could come up with a beautiful name for our daughter. Snow White.
Snow White. I love it. Finally, we have found an amazing name for our princess.
Nice. I have to go now. I have a lot of work to do.
All right. I need to sew a dress for my baby. She will always wear the prettiest outfits. Can you please play with Snow White until I'm done?
Sadly, the Queen became ill and died. The King was heartbroken, but after a while he fell under the spell of a very beautiful enchantress and married her. He did not know how jealous, vain and wicked she was. Every day she would gaze into her magic mirror and ask,
"Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the most beautiful woman of all?"
The mirror would reply,
Of all the women that were ever seen, you are the most beautiful, dear Queen.
This made the vain Queen happy.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest in the world?
Of all the women in the woo.
What happened? The mirror is broken.
we need to connect the crystals to make the mirror come back to life.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the most beautiful woman of all?
I've been mended, but all my reflections got mixed up. Can you find Snow White among them? This is Cinderella. She is kind and hard-working, but she is not in our story. This is the jealous Queen. She is more evil than beautiful. This is Sleeping Beauty, who's waiting for a prince. We don't need her. This is Cinderella. She is kind and hard-working, but she is not in our story. This is Snow White. Of all the women that were ever seen, Snow White is the fairest, dear Queen.
It is impossible. Huntsman,
Your Majesty.
take Snow White into the forest, tie her up to a tree and leave her there.
But Your Majesty.
No buts. If you disobey me, you will lose your head.
All right, as you say, Your Majesty.
The Queen hated Snow White because she was pretty. Then one morning, the magic mirror replied,
Of all the women that were ever seen, Snow White is the most beautiful, dear Queen.
This made the Queen very jealous. She called for her huntsman.
Take Snow White into the forest and leave her there, tied to a tree.
The huntsman was afraid of the Queen, and so he set out to do as she had ordered.
Where are you taking me?
Asked little Snow White. To the forest, to see the animals, replied the huntsman. When they were deep in the forest, the huntsman turned to Snow White, saying,
The wicked Queen wants me to tie you to a tree and leave you here to die. But don't be afraid, I won't harm you.
Snow White looked at him with tears in her eyes.
Run away, dear Snow White, and never return,
He told her. He then left Snow White alone in the forest and rode back to the palace. Snow White ran far into the forest until night fell. Frightened and tired, she lay down on a bank of...
I'm so sorry, Snow White. I'll be leaving you here. Don't return to the palace, or the Queen will punish both of us.
Goodbye, and thank you for sparing me. Now I'm alone in this deep and dark forest. How do I get out of here?
I will help you get out of this thicket. Follow me.
Who is it? I can't see anyone. Can you see anybody? Where should I go next? I know the way. Follow me. So, where should I go now?
I'll take you to the kind dwarfs. Their house isn't far away. Let's go.
Look, this is a cottage. I hope someone could help me there. I want to thank the animals for their help. Can you help me find the animals? Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, dear.
My pleasure, Snow White.
And thank you, kids, for helping me.
In the light of the morning, she saw a little cottage nestling amongst the trees. Smoke was puffing from the chimney, and a narrow path led to a tiny oak door.
I wonder who lives here.
She thought. She knocked lightly. Knock, knock. No one answered, but the tiny oak door swung open. Snow White entered.
Hello? Is anybody home?
She called. The room was empty and silent, except for the crackling of a little fire. She looked around and saw how small everything was. There were 7 little chairs around a small oak table, laid with 7 small mugs, 7 tiny plates, and 7 small loaves of bread.
How sweet.
She said to herself.
This must be the home of 7 little people.
She noticed that the room was untidy. The floor was in need of a sweep, and the fire was almost out.
Maybe they won't mind me staying for a while if I do some cleaning for them.
She decided. Then she set about tidying the hearth and putting more wood on the fire. She dusted and swept and scrubbed until the room looked sparkling clean. Tired and hungry, she sat down in one of the little chairs.
I wonder if they'd mind if I had a little of their bread and water.
She thought. Not wanting to take any one person's portion, she had a sip from each of the 7 mugs of water and a tiny bite from each of the 7 loaves of bread. She then went into the bedroom, where there were 7 little beds. Again she set to work, tidying and cleaning. After the last bed was straightened and the room was sweet and fresh, she lay down, exhausted, and closed her eyes. It was nearly night time. She didn't mean to fall asleep, but she did. If at that time she had looked through the window, she would have seen the owners returning home. This tiny cottage belonged to the 7 dwarfs, who worked in the nearby mines digging for gold. As it happened, Snow White was sound asleep when they returned. The dwarf,
Snow White, you are welcome to stay with us for as long as you wish.
he said, and sniffed as he put his handkerchief back into his pocket.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Replied Snow White happily, and they all joined hands and laughed and danced until they were quite out of breath. So from then onwards, Snow White lived happily with the dwarfs. She helped them cook and clean, and was loved and cherished by every one of them.
The 7 dwarfs are kind and hard-working, but they don't have time for housekeeping. We need to clean the cobwebs, sweep the floor, and fix the cabinet door. Can you help me? I guess we can clean the cobwebs first. Good job! Now we have to sweep the floor. Good for you! The floor is shiny as new. Let's fix the cabinet door. Good job! We need to set the table before the dwarves return. Help me set the cutlery. I remember the days in the castle when the maids set the table. Let's see if I can remember how this is done. The Now the cottage is warm and clean and dinner will be ready soon. I couldn't have done all this by myself. Thank you.
Back at the palace, the vain queen gazed into her magic mirror and asked,
Mirror, mirror, on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?
The mirror replied,
Of all the women that were ever seen, Snow White is the most beautiful, dear queen.
The queen was horrified.
Snow White? Snow White? That's not possible. Snow White should be dead.
She screamed,
Snow White is alive and so beautiful that your beauty in comparison looks quite dull.
added the mirror. At this, Snow White looked at the rosy apple and was tempted. She smiled and took a bite. Suddenly, the colour faded from her rosy cheeks and lips, and she fell to the floor as if dead. The wicked queen gave an evil scream of delight and returned in haste to the palace. Standing before her mirror, she asked,
Mirror, mirror, on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?
The mirror replied,
Of all the women that were ever seen, you are the most beautiful, dear queen.
The wicked queen was happy.
Oh, who is this beautiful girl?
This is Snow White, Your Majesty. The jealous queen, her stepmother, poisoned her. She has slipped into a deep sleep.
Let me try to wake her up.
I would be grateful, but first you need to open the 3 locks in the coffin. I'm too old, and do not remember how to do it.
Help me open the locks to wake up Snow White. Try to find the same colours. We did it! Thanks for your help. She is so beautiful. We must wake her up. But how do we do this? I don't think that's a great way to wake Snow White up. No, it won't help. That's right! Love is stronger than witchcraft.
How long have I slept? Thank you, Prince, for waking me up.
I have never seen such a beauty like you, Snow White. Let's go to my father's palace and get married. We can rule the kingdom together.
What about these sweet dwarfs? Can we invite them to our wedding too?
Pardon us, we won't be able to come. We have a lot of work here. But we prepared a gift for you, Snow White. Oh, where are the gems? I think we have lost them along the way. Let's find them. Well done. We were not... Another gem found.
Great. There's the... And another one. Yay, that's another one.
Well, all the gems are found. Thanks a lot. Please accept our humble gift, Snow White.
Oh, how lovely. Thank you so much. I will never forget your kindness.
A royal wedding was planned, and everyone in the land rejoiced, except the jealous queen, of course. She turned green with envy and red with rage, and then simply exploded into a pile of dust. So it happened that the prince and Princess Snow White were married and lived happily ever after.